Hey guys, I want to take this opportunity to go over the deadlift in more detail. Just because, just like the squat, it is one of those exercises that is a little bit more technical. I want to make sure that you are safe doing this on your own, okay? So I have the deadlift set up here from the ground. I've also given you the opportunity to use the deadlift from blocks. So I have these here, which I'll get into in a little bit later. So with the deadlift, let's start from the ground up. So with the deadlift, I want to make sure that you have your stance figured out. I personally don't use the same stance as my squat stance. I personally like a little bit narrower stance, and that's just to do with what I feel comfortable with. Again, you're going to have to kind of figure that out. So it could be a narrow stance, it could be a wide stance, it could be feet facing forward, feet slightly flared out a little bit. It could be even feet staggered. Okay. So it depends on what feels comfortable for you and what allows you to get into the proper alignment. Now, what is proper alignment? So starting from the feet, whatever your stance might be, you're going to corkscrew those feet into the ground, just like we did with squats. You're pretending you're standing on dinner plates, you're corkscrewing the feet, creating that arch in your foot, and that's going to make things nice and tight. When you do that, you may not see it, but hopefully you do. My hips kind of corkscrew, or sorry, my femur or my thighs corkscrew into my hips, okay? From here, you want to maintain spinal alignment, so double chin, rib cage down. I'm pulling my shoulders down and back. I am getting nice and tight by squeezing, pretending you have oranges in your armpits, and you're squeezing these oranges, trying to make orange juice. So you're nice and tight here. You're like the Tin Man. You are rigid, okay? You're strong. So if I'm going to deadlift, I create that tension. Okay, and then I'm going to hinge at the hip, or I'm going to bow forward, maintaining that spinal alignment. And then when I get to a point where I can't maintain any longer, or I can't, I have long arms, but I can't reach the barbell yet, I'm going to have to fold a little more at the hip. The key here is maintaining spinal alignment and not going into extension and not going into flexion. And that's going to basically depend on if you can't do that with the stance that you're in, you're going to have to kind of maneuver your stance and figure out what works best for you. If you try everything and you still can't get down to that position, then that's okay when you bring in the risers, or in this case, I have plates turned on their side where you can put the barbell on top of that, and it gives you a little bit less distance for you to reach the bar. Don't think of this as cheating. Don't think of this as it's not a deadlift. You are still deadlifting, guys. The only people who can't do this are power lifters and Olympic lifters because it's illegal. Everybody else, we can modify an exercise to fit to you, and that's the key. That's why you're in this program. We're doing things that are based on your current ability. And yes, we'll try to increase mobility, get you stronger in different positions, try to relax certain muscles that may be constant tone to allow you to deadlift from the ground. But in the meantime, instead of having you just go off and do corrective exercises for a day or a month or whatever it may be, some cases longer, we'll get you on risers so you can actually deadlift and get a stimulus from the workout while you're trying to increase your mobility, okay? So get back into this squat here. Like I said, my stance is relatively narrow. I don't normally wear shoes when I deadlift, but it's cold out, so bear with me. Okay, I'm corkscrewing my feet into the ground. My hips are nice and tight. Double chin, rib cage down, belt buckle to chin. Squeezing my oranges, hinging at the hip. I'm going to bend my knees a little bit to grab the bar. I'm pulling the slack out of the bar. So try to listen for this sound. Okay, that's the slack in the bar. I'm getting tight. Pull the slack out of the bar. And I'm going to exhale on the way up, push the knees out, and pushing the hips forward for a proper deadlift. So even though this is, the barbell is moving vertically up and down, think of this exercise as a horizontal exercise because your hips are shooting back and then coming forward. Okay, so maintain that tightness. You're still squeezing the oranges. Your first step here is hinging at the hips, pushing those hips nice and far back and getting down. You want to make sure your shoulders are always over top of your hands. And then down. Okay, so that's your deadlift there. Let me just catch my breath. So let's talk about stance here just a little bit longer. The reason being is because everybody's hips are a little bit different. So within our hip, this cerebellum, basically your femur, which is your thigh, attaches into your hip socket. So hip sockets can be anywhere. They can be anteriorly rotated, posteriorly rotated. It can be, kind of capsuled this way. It can be flared out this way. Your femoral head could be tight. It could be in and on an angle. There's just so many different ways how your thigh attaches with your hip that not everybody's going to be able to squat, ass to grass. Not everybody's going to be able to deadlift from the floor. Okay, so we have to make sure that these exercises are matched to your current ability, and that's why we screen. So with our hips being all these different shapes and sizes, sometimes this head is really in there and glued in. Sometimes it's a little bit, hypermobility, it's looser. Some of it's in between. Like I said, it's attached in different areas. So if you're squatting and you have, say, an anterior rotated pelvis, and maybe your attachment is in deep in the capsule, when you squat, this is your thigh. You basically have bone on bone, and so you can't go any further when you have bone on bone. So those people are not going to be able to probably squat, ass to grass or deadlift right from the ground, and that's fine. Okay, there's no countries aren't going to blow up, and there's no dogma out there that says you have to basically it's not a deadlift unless you deadlift from the ground. There's internet trolls that will tell you that, but who cares about them? So yeah, getting back to this, guys, there's just a lot of different hip rotations. The same things happen in the shoulder. Not everybody is going to be able to overhead press, and we've kind of talked about that within our assessment. So thanks for watching this video. I know it's a little bit longer, but again, it's extremely important that you guys understand squatting and deadlifting. They are phenomenal exercises. I just want to make sure you're doing them right, and a quick 30-second, 45-second video in your program doesn't do these lifts justice. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the program.